Now what do need to happen is that we need to finally add our functionality to fetch the articles depending on the tag that we click on. And in order to do that, we're going to add another article, another state value, sorry. So below this, we're going to say const tag and set tag. This is equal to use state, and by default, I want to fetch for the discuss tag. So what I'm going to do is, once again, we're going to append to the end of this get request, and I'm going to say ampersand tag equals to $ brackets tag. Okay, so what this means is append the tag, and we're going to append the tag state value that we have inside here, which by default is discuss. And then in order for this to work, we need to add this tag as a dependency array to our use effect, which means that basically every time that the tag changes, then this is going to rerun and it's going to make another get request so that we can get the correct articles depending on the one that we click on. So therefore, how do we implement this search by tag? We go into where we have our tag list. Right here, we go into our tag list, and then inside this list item, we can add an on-click event. So on-click, and we can just going to place in our inline function, and we're going to say set tag into tags. It is as simple as that. So let's save this and then let's see whether it works. So remember, by default we have the discuss tag, so even if you click this, then nothing is going to change. But if you click on best of dev, then we should see best of dev showing up, and so on and so forth. If you click on beginners, then we should see beginners. But you do realize another problem. If you scroll to the bottom, right, and you say you want to search for she coded, right, you can click on this and it's going to get the correct articles, but you're still going to be on the bottom. So I want to go back to the top. I want to enable scroll back to the top. So you can do that by taking this function and extracting it into a different function, just like we did on top, just like we did at around here, and then set the window to scroll to 0, 0. But I don't want to do that, and I want to show you another way. And in fact, we are going to remove this as well. So I want to remove this too, just like that. And then we're going to go inside the use effect, right? And right below this, we're going to say window.scroll to 0, 0, just like that. And now this means that every time that this function is going to be run, then this is going to be the last thing that is going to run. So no matter how many functions that we're going to add inside here, it is always going to throw you back to the top. Okay, so let's look for another tag, career. Okay, and look at that, it already throws me back to the top, which is what we expect. You can look for show dev and it throws me back to the top, which is what we expect. Okay, so let me try and make this a bit smoother, where I don't want this to show up just because I'm hovering over the article, right? So that means that I'm going to go inside my fetch articles, and we're going to break things a bit most likely, where I'm going to grab this and push it inside the UL, inside this UL, which is this one right here. Yeah, that should be fine. Actually, let me save this. Let's see what happens. It should break, but nothing breaks. Okay, there we go. So it still breaks just a bit, which I do not want. So instead of having the dot name here, I want the dot name to be inside the UL. So class name, like so. So let's see this. Now look at this. Now the hover isn't here, it's going to be on the UL. Okay, so the hover is going to be on the UL, which is a bit better than having it here always, because it interferes with quite a lot of things. So in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that we might run into a bug while building this, but we have not run into it. So let me explain it nevertheless. What usually happens is you might find that sometimes when you're making GET requests to the API, or to an API rather, you will find that your application breaks because of images failing to load. And usually if you try to console log them, you'll find that they come back as undefined, even though they are in the application, right? So what you can do is, for example, if you were to assume that this was undefined, then what you would do is something like this, where you put a conditional and say that only when user.profile underscore image underscore 90 exists, that's when you want this to show up. So just something simple like this, and it introduces just a bit of error bounding so that your application doesn't break unnecessarily. And you can see just by the introduction of this code that my application doesn't break.